All right, here we are at This Week in Work Hard episode 3, which means there's how many other episodes?
2.
2. Just making sure that the money guy here is good at math. So yeah, just bringing that up. If you guys have not checked out the other 2 episodes and you're curious about catching up on some of the things we've been talking about, certainly go through there. There's on YouTube a really nice little chapter breakup of what's in the episode, so you can go exactly to where you want to, and you don't have to watch the whole thing. But I'm Ryan Haggerty, your Director of Workforce Development, and always with me is...
Josh Lucas, your executive committee chair.
Yeah, and we're This Week in Work Hard. So first thing on my list is we have some residency updates going on, which is, of course, the retail space down in Southside Works for Baron Batch's art gallery. And what are our updates?
Well, I think that we still probably need a little more shift workers. So if anybody's interested in picking up some time and hours down at the residency, it pays $20 an hour. And there are periodic trainings to get you trained up.
So that's our update on workers at the residency. So in all things financial, here we are. We're in funding season. We're figuring out what our runway looks like and what kind of things we have going on. So give us some updates. What is our financial state of mind?
So I think a lot of people know that we're in deep conversations with one of the foundations in town for what we hope to be a substantial multi-year award. The reality is that funding won't actually be actualized, if at all actualized, until winter. So between now and then, we have to make sure that we're judiciously spending the cash that we have. We'll know tonight, I guess, or Monday morning, whether or not we received an award from
Stauton Farm Foundation.
And that would be specifically to do...
So Stauton Farm, we're looking to work with them on that digital marketing boot camp. So that would be 2 years of funding to help support that. And then in turn, Stauton would be able to take some of the nonprofit workers that they serve as clients working in the mental health space and get them trained up on digital marketing so they can do better outreach and just be more impactful in their work.
And we should be able to announce our national partner on that digital marketing boot camp here in the next couple of weeks as well. So that program is going to generate meaningful amounts of funding that pays our instructors and pays for some marketing and pays for some physical space. And so that's a good thing.
And it's worth pointing out, when we launch new programming, this is typically what we're doing, right? There's a certain amount of funding to support it for a couple of years until the program can get sustainability through ISAs and other funding.
Yeah, so that digital marketing specialist bootcamp, very similar to the web developer bootcamp, taught in the evenings though, a little bit longer in its duration. Works on an ISA model. So it's just another opportunity for us to scale our programming, reach more people, and provide meaningful technical or tech adjacent education that's going to help folks get jobs. And then, we started looking in earnest at other modalities of investment. And that, can range from sort of Reg D crowdfunding that we might do down through deeper relationships with private capital to essentially, provide a funding runway for the different products that are here in the ecosystem that, need capital to scale. So regardless of sort of what happens with this philanthropic investment that looks favorable for a winner investment, there's still opportunities between now and then to raise additional money to do specific things. It's just going to come from a different source.
Well, just a quick follow-up there, Josh. So, is that something we've typically done? I know there's always been some amount of foundation and grant money that supported the work we've done. Has there been past investment, or is this like a new thing? What are we talking about?
So this is new for the co-op, but in the past we've taken accredited investor money to, for example, one of the first investors in Ecosystem invested in what is now the agency. So, she's since been bought out, but it was private capital that came in and injected $50,000 into the agency way back in 2013. and that's happening again now. I guess we're having conversations with high net wealth individuals who want to invest in specific aspects of our ecosystem, and we have to build the infrastructure to make sure that it's a good partnership, but also that it's equitable and it's aligning with our mission and our goals and our deeper work.
Cool. Yeah, and so just to repeat that back a little bit, when we get that as foundation money, those grant monies, we do have a fiscal sponsor as a for-profit organization to be able to leverage those funds to do impact-driven work. So, New Sun Rising is our partner in all of those transactions, but what you're talking about is setting up some rigor and some legal framework for private capital come into these for-profit entities, which is, I guess, also the reason that this whole venture has kind of remained for profit to even be able to take advantage of the opportunity.
Yep, that's it in a nutshell. It's a heavy lift. It's a heavy administrative lift. It's a heavy accounting lift. It's a heavy, a lot of legal work needs to be done. And then it's just, it's deep. It's new relationships to manage. It's new complicated relationships to manage that not everybody's goals are the same, and you got to work really hard to align those goals so that everybody's coming into this with their eyes open.
Yeah, and I think it's worth mentioning too. You're speaking to this in terms of launching products. There's revenue, there's profit shares, and all that. But in terms of how the ecosystem of Work Hard Academy and the Co-op have existed to date, it seems like the funding cycles that we've gone through typically are 9 months to 18 months worth of funding, and then we're back at square one, kind of starting over with perhaps a new funding partner, re-educating them as to how our system works and those sorts of things. And to some degree, that limits growth, right? We're spending a ton of time hunting down new funding, restructuring our story and things like that, which is things we're going to be always doing. But what I'm hearing is this is potentially another kind of investment that will provide longer runways to free up some of that capacity to do more things and grow.
Yeah, raising money is a huge distraction, even if it's not taking up time. Like raising money and running out of money are huge time wasters in the ecosystem because they eat up human time. They eat up brain power, right? Like they eat up they add stress, they create instability, they create cultural problems,
ulcers, stomach ulcers,
stomach ulcers, like you name it, right? So, this is really an opportunity to have contingency plans in place or contingency funding in place that makes us more nimble, lets us pay more salaries. If it all goes as planned, start paying member dividends to unit holding members of the co-op. Of course, all that's going to take time, and but it cannot, can be substantial and significant, I think, in a 2 or 3 year period, and it'd be nice to see this wealth redistribution start to happen, especially for folks that are most at risk, that are unit holders in our ecosystem.
Yeah, and it's worth pointing out, like, as much as this is a new thing and there's going to be time on task devoted to it, this is how we've set up a lot of these models that haven't been explored to date, right? From everything from getting Academy started as like the first boot camp in Pittsburgh, basically, and figuring out how do you get foundation money through a fiscal sponsor to free up for operations and laying all the groundwork for those kind of engagements to happen and those funding to support these activities. We're just like at another phase of that, it sounds like, figuring it out, but also being able to replicate it. So you're talking about products. We do have some existing products like the PopNLock app that is coming soon to everyone's phones to be able to open the door that could be commercialized, or event app that's been widely used by large events like Fresh Fest, which is now Barrel and Flow and Replay Effect.
Well, we just also have to be careful of. So those are I think that those are looking for group products. So we have to be careful that we don't talk about looking for group products as though there are products. But, we do have a nonprofit hosting company that, generates 20, 30 grand a year in income that could scale, targets nonprofits and provides them with annual maintenance fees, does really well. but it's wrapped up into the agency right now, and it could come out as its own LLC, and could raise its own money, and could eventually be a product 5 years from now that might have 1,000 customers or 10,000 customers and get acquired by a larger. It's something that's an acquirable, more traditional startup sort of company. And like those kind of big exits, like if somebody came along and bought our nonprofit hosting company for $10 million, like we did some back of the envelope math today, that might put tens of thousands of dollars into a unit holder's pocket as a dividend, once you consider taxes and all sorts of other stuff too. So that's not a promise of tens of thousands of dollars, but the math on that is to that scale.
That's all I heard is work hard is giving me a stimulus check. That's all I heard.
Yeah. So, we've got to keep growing in the direction of least resistance, and we've got to do things that are normative for businesses to do. And this is where we're at. And so we're just going to try to make sure we don't run out of cash between now and these, what we think are substantial investments, either from philanthropy or private capital.
Yeah. And I guess the button on that I was trying to make was just that as opportunities come up, whether that's, philanthropic from a foundation, or now we're talking about, large scale investment in products, we, through spending time on task, like setting this up, will have a legal framework to make that a real conversation and to actually have those engagements happen in a timely way that satisfies kind of that investor ecosystem to want to engage with us. So it could be repeated for multiple kinds of engagements that need those sorts of funds.
Yeah. And, the story is what we make of it. So if culturally we embrace these changes and think about the positive future outcomes and tell that story in a positive way, that helps you, do more, better, faster with your external partners. If internally we get stuck on this culture of scarcity that creates certain habits of mind that we've been in for maybe the last decade, I don't know that that's a path to growth anymore. I think we've got to let go of some of this cultural baggage, and be like, we're good enough, we're smart enough, we can do this at a scale that we haven't done it yet, and not let our own sort of cognitive biases that are experience driven. I'm not trying to diminish, these habits of mind that we have, because, they're shaped by scarcity, right? And scarcity creates stress and trauma and ambiguity and doesn't help you make good, clean, crisp decisions.
Well, I mean, it's just an organic outgrowth of what the ecosystem has always been doing. Is challenging models and systems and ways of doing things, and like you said, kind of bringing that experience, that learned experience, to each new mode that is trying to be set up. So as much as we are a digital agency or a school or a co-op, we're also this legal framework of a model that enables us to take funding from multiple sources and devote it to work that is impactful.
Yeah, and do it in a way that is including people that are excluded traditionally from these sorts of opportunities.
Yeah. So next thing I was going to jump into real quick. Oh, so I guess one big ticket item for freelancers, we talked about the retail space, hiring people, but for people who engage with us in a 1099 contract fashion, we do have a new primary contractor agreement, which I guess some of the key points there to point out, and then Josh, I'm sure Josh is going to add some things to this, but just trying to simplify the language in there. I know anytime you're reading an agreement, certainly you want to have people review it that know better than we all do in this room, such as your lawyer. But we did our best to kind of make that language simpler, and also just have clarification around the updated service rates for 2021 that everybody should be looking out for that does that freelance work, as well as just being clear about likeness rights, because we do want to broadcast and promote people, but if we get you to sign that up front and get your likeness release, then we're all on the same page about what we're doing. So primary contractor agreements are not out yet, but we are going to be meeting as project managers next week, and we'll be able to give you a due date on that, on when you should be expecting them.
And who has to sign the new primary contractor agreement?
So, new primary contractor agreement is anyone who engages with us as a 1099 contractor. So, if you're doing freelance work with a digital agency, there is some people that do some work with Academy as well. Who else are we thinking about?
Yeah, it's anybody who everything goes through the agency. So anybody who we 1099, anybody who gets a 1099 form from us in January, will have to re-sign the PCA. And like you said, it's simpler now. We took a lot of stuff out that we thought was non-enforceable or didn't really relate to the act of business that we were doing. And the rates, the hourly rates have changed a little bit too, but that'll all be documented in that for people's review.
Yes. So more on that next week, and you should be seeing those hitting your email, so you can actually get those signed, and we can be all done with that. I did just want to give a quick shout out to our live stream crew from Gertie's Woods Get Down, which occurred, what was that, Wednesday night, Tyler? My brain. Wednesday night, and that was just for a fundraise for the residents over there in Millvale to be able, or the Allegheny Land Trust, I should say, to be able to purchase a large swath of wood so it doesn't get developed and people have a natural area. But for us, it was at Mr. Small's. It was a great way to chip off some rust and do another live stream. And just to give you some context, when I first joined in 2016, I did get to do some live streams very early on, and Josh Lucas over here was project managing that. And yeah, we've definitely formalized our process at this
We
point.
started those with the webcam.
Oh my gosh,
Yeah,
yeah.
like, I remember doing one at Ascender with a laptop and literally like a Microsoft webcam pointed at somebody.
Quality. But no, I mean, it was a 4 cam setup. There was music, there was host. People were making donations during the live event. There was a lot of good engagement on Facebook. But with our ramp up to Barrel and Flow Fest in the fall, there's definitely going to be a lot of work around live streams and programming as well as some media capture. So it was a great event just to kind of get back into it. And it was also the first show in over a year that's been on the stage at Mr. Smalls. So we're thankful to be a part of that.
And then since we talked about Barrel and Flow, that'll be important for everybody to show up. So even if you're not working 1099 on the media crew, we'll have 3 tables set up that day, one for Academy, one for the agency, one for the co-op. So those tables will need to be manned so that we can engage the community. The residency will have a full staff complement that day. So all of the people that pick up hours at the residency will be able to pick up hours at the residency because there's just going to be so much throughput. So keep your calendars open for September 10th. Be very helpful if you pull a 4-hour shift at a table before you start drinking, or jump on some of the media crews that we're going to need.
Well, that'll be September 11th. Will be the Saturday
I'm
for
sorry.
sure.
Thank you.
It is a 3-day event though, and for people who are at all interested in vending on that, Dave Bracey, who we're working with on the whole project, we can get you connected to him. But it is a huge beer festival event that also supports Black artists, entrepreneurs, and just Black leaders in our area, and actually from across the country come out for it. So if that's something in an audience that you want to promote yourself to, certainly let us know and we can get you connected to Dave Bracey on that. We have a lot scratched out on our notes, but I think we have most of what we wanted on there. Oh, do we want to say something about membership there and service hours?
Yeah, just a reminder that the membership committee has been working very hard to create new documentation around what is a service hour. So there's a document that the membership committee can share with you that tells you what is an acceptable service hour. And then there's also new mechanisms that are interim to track your service hours while we rebuild our hour tracking infrastructure here in a more formal way. All this information is in the newsletter from last week and will be in I assume, the newsletter this week going out as well. So just keep an eye on your inbox to get more information, or just reach directly out to Trevor on Element. We're also abandoning KISI. KISI is going away. We are replacing it with the app that Looking for Group built called PopNLock. We're to do that all next week. So Sunday, there'll be an email sent out to all people that have door access explaining how to get the new app installed. There'll be a week where both of those apps are working. So you'll be able to use either one, but starting April 1, KISI will be shut off because it costs us like $4,000 a year and it's just a waste of money.
Yes. We're gonna be popping and locking. And then I had I'm just imagining so many horrible dance jokes that are gonna come out of this app. And then Maddie did have a reminder on here. This is just for committee chairs who are looking to get things in the newsletter. She does want that stuff by 2 p.m. on Tuesday so it can get sent out on Friday. And that's just another way, in addition to this podcast and the Friday meeting, that people are getting this information. So you know who you are, and you know who Maddie is. So make sure you get your updates into her. And for any of the people we mentioned today, as far as outreach, we are going to be listing emails and things like that in the description below the YouTube video. And then probably over, I guess, on, or where are the other platforms that people can find this for the audio version?
Spotify.
Or you can go on the Libsyn webpage.
Libsyn.
I have not put it on Apple Music or Apple Podcast yet.
Okay. This week at Work Hard. And then, of course, the YouTube is the Work Hard PGH YouTube channel. So if you go on there and you click and subscribe, you can find this episode. And then what other episodes can they find?
Oh, there's a ton of videos on the Work Hard YouTube.
I was doing a horrible dad joke about counting again, but now there's episodes 1 and 2 and all the Work Hard content.
You can walk down memory lane and see all the historic Work Hard footage of 10 years.
how these meetings used to occur in outer space.
Those were better.
Yes. So that's the majority of the big updates. There will be additional information that's coming out in the newsletter you should definitely check out. And as I mentioned, there are the previous episodes if there's some information that we covered before that you wanted to check out. But that is this week in Work Hard Pittsburgh. I'm Ryan Haggerty.
Send us your questions. I am Josh Lucas.
And if you want to send questions, send them to Tyler Vietmeyer, our podcast producer. And we'll see you guys next week.
We need some kind of clever sign off.